Darkfire Audio presents Call of the Herald, Book 1 in the Dawning of Power trilogy, written by Brian Rathbone, narrated by Chris Snellgrove. Epilogue. Premon dolls crouched in the drainage ditch, waiting for the Jean patrol to pass. Acrid smoke still hung heavy in the air, stinging his eyes and irritating his throat, making him fear he would soon be coughing. Debris from the storm littered the ditch, and he pulled as much as he could over him, trying to make himself invisible. He assumed these men were still loyal to General Dempsey, since they still marched in formation, and there was no one he recognized in the group. The defectors were with the followers of Wendell Volker, since the masters refused to accept any of them. With tensions rising between the masters and the rebels, as Wendell's followers were called, the mysterious presence of the tribes of Argast only increased the uncertainty of the situation. How they had come to be allied with the rebels was still a mystery. Spying on the rebels had yielded little new information, but Premon was determined to use every morsel to his advantage. His plain looks had been a handicap when he was an ambitious young man struggling to gain status, but now his appearance was a benefit. Few took notice of him, and even fewer knew his name. Getting back to the master house was proving to be more difficult than ever before, as the Jean patrolled constantly, seemingly intent on maintaining control over the docks and shipyards. This was not an entirely bad thing, for when the Jean repaired their ships and left the Godfist, he would be free. For the moment, though, he was content to wait. While it was still dark, Premon hauled himself out from the mud and trash and crept to the foul-smelling sewer grate he told Pete and Ross about. Looking around to make sure no one was nearby, he removed the broken bar from the grate and set it inside. Even with the bar removed, he had to squeeze through, and he was bruised and scratched by the time he got down into the sewer. He replaced the broken bar and picked up the torches and flint he'd stashed there several days before. The stench was overwhelming, and he struggled to breathe. By the time he reached the drain that led to the upper halls of the master house, his sense of smell was gone, and the powerful odor no longer bothered him. The steep climb to the upper halls was an even worse part of the journey, but he suffered through it, thinking of the future. A place of power awaited him, and it would all be worth it. Using one of the many service tunnels to gain access to the master house, Premon made his way to the appointed place without being seen. Once within the darkened room, which was little more than a closet, he waited. He was sleeping when Master Edling finally arrived, and Premon struggled to pull himself from his stupor. "Don't you ever bathe?" Master Edling asked, covering his nose and mouth with his hand. "Stealth has its price," Premon said, shrugging. "What have you found out?" Premon thought for a moment before he replied. "The rebels plan to take back the farmlands and the highlands and leave Harborton to you." "How very kind of them. I've heard talk of settling the Jean defectors in the upper Pinnock and Chinapa valleys. It seems they're willing to give away our lands to the enemy," Premon continued. Master Edling appeared lost in his own ruminations, and Premon pressed on, hoping to gain any advantage he could. "General Dempsey's men have already repaired one warship, and they are scavenging materials to repair more. From what I've heard, they plan to pursue the Volker girl once they have 3 seaworthy ships. The deserters will be left behind." Master Edling watched Premon, but showed no reaction. "There is one other thing," Premon continued, his lips curling into a sneer. "Wendell Volker sleeps in an unguarded room near one of the shafts that allow fresh air into the cold caves." "Does he now?" Master Edling said, raising his eyes to meet Premon's. It would be a pity if he were to die in his sleep, especially with no one to inherit his lands. Primon could not keep the smile from his lips. Indeed, he said, a plan already forming in his mind. Acres of farmland were far from enough to satisfy him, but it was a beginning.